What we've learned from our preliminary
Looking
task.
back, actual preliminary task.
Yeah.
What have we learned?
Well, what we have definitely learned is planning, because I think in the preliminary task, not a lot of planning went into it.
We just went, alright, I reckon we should do this. Alright, let's go do it.
Yeah.
Definitely planning is one of the most important things that we missed out.
Yeah. It's
There was
because
definitely loads and
so many
loads of
things
things
we've
that we missed out. Yeah.
and it probably would have flowed a lot better if we actually done a bit more planning. Because when you look back to the proper one we've done, it was a lot more planning went into it. I think we did about 3 lessons worth of
3
planning.
lessons worth of planning.
Yeah.
With our prelim, we did about 5 minutes, and then we just
Then we just
planned
ran
as
out.
we went along. Like,
Yeah.
how about
Because we didn't even have
You
a script
strangle
ready,
him.
did we?
Yeah.
Our
we-
excuse was, "Oh, we'll sort it out in the editing," but we didn't realise you need to actually get
Can't
the
sort
Yeah,
filming.
the film to
Yeah.
actually do the editing.
Yeah.
So.
did we take like 1 shot for each scene?
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
So that's another
just
thing.
choke him.
There was a number
now
of
let's
different
move.
scenes.
That's
but
another thing.
we did
So
a
when we
few
actually
shots,
did
but-
the our final task, we actually did each shot at least 3 times, 3 takes on that one shot, so we can choose from 3 different
Yeah.
takes to see which one was the
Yeah.
best.
'Cause when we had the,
Which is
we
what we didn't do.
We didn't really
in the
plan for
preliminary
anything
task.
with, like the props because I was the only one that actually brought in like a
Yeah.
tie.
You brought
Right,
a shot,
or-
Joe
'cause-
brought in
'cause
his
the day-
guns.
It's
'cause
another thing of
Yeah.
planning, isn't it?
Because we were meant to actually bring in
Some props.
props on that day when we got the room booked and that, and
Someone
was it-
forgot.
Pete was the only one who bought in the stuff, and
Someone had to go home and get theirs.
you had to go get it, and he just ended up
And
wasting the
because
whole
we
lesson.
didn't plan, we didn't realise that it would actually took 45 minutes to get to my house, get the stuff, and then probably half an hour to get back. In
So-
which time,
We
we
all we
would've
did was
the end of the lesson.
record one scene.
Which was you
Yeah.
walking down
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing we've learned is
was,
a lot more planning has to take place.
and along with planning, actually making a script.
Yeah,
Because
because with the
and
half
especially
what to
even
say.
in our actual film, we didn't plan too well at the start, considering
No.
we had to do 5 reshoots. You know.
But
Yeah.
we didn't have much talk in our actual one, whereas in our prelim we actually had a short amount of dialogue, which
Yeah.
is really
to be honest, I don't think we had any dialogue in our actual.
I think that's what made it.
Yeah,
because
it
it
was
was.
just
it would
raw.
probably
You can
would've-
focus
yeah.
on other things if you're not focusing on scripts or dialogues or
Yeah.
anything. We had like 3 words in the whole.
So we focused probably more on the actual shooting rather than that. But with the preliminary task, the planning wasn't good.
It was mostly get in the room. Okay, what should we say? Oh, how about you scream, oh, he's
We-
behind you, and then
It
you
was
get
quite-
shot.
Yeah,
It was
we,
quite
we,
typical.
we pretty much made it up.
The
as we
script was
went
quite
along.
typical and a bit cheesy. Really.
Yeah, it's like with one line.
It was a bit like James Bond.
yeah,
She
she's
took
there.
influence
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah, so another thing was the editing. Like at the end of the preliminary task, where it went from colour straight to red really quickly.
It's like
I-
We were just messing
Right,
about and then we
back
left
to-
it in, didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we thought we'd try and get the,
instead of
like, the
reshooting
James
it,
Bond
it just
effect.
ended like. Because if I remember, we actually recorded a bit more, which was my bad acting, where Pete shot me and I went, ugh.
And died, but
And we cut that out, so Pete just went bang bang and just ended.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so so probably had to spend a bit more time in the filming. But then again, we didn't have that much of a big time period to actually get it done. But
I think that was
Back
more
to the
taken
video.
up by the sort of getting the props ready, trying like thinking about it. And if we had just planned it at the start, we would have just gone straight, smooth
Exactly.
all the way through. We could have got it done in like 2 lessons. Doing really good.
in relation to our new one, like planning was definitely a big issue, considering like the first time we went out, we didn't even take the camera with us. We had to
yeah,
improvise and take a stills camera and try and
That's
make
when we were
it
taking
look.
shots for the location.
yeah,
Yeah.
That was when the battery died in the camera. So obviously like not checking,
yeah.
not
So yeah,
checking
How
the
much charge it
battery.
has.
Yeah.
so we had to try and be a bit more assertive with these things,
Yeah,
and also
Get real actors.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Not us.
real
'Cause
actors.
in the
Yeah.
preliminary task,
But
it was
not
me and
the best.
Spencer doing the acting, and it was just
And Hanny.
yeah,
it was
I
really
think
bad.
we were all in
we were
it.
all in it.
we were really yeah, it was, yeah.
Us three had dialogue, Joe just got
yeah, it
strangled.
was,
I did
it's-
the epic prairie dog.
Shit.
Yeah.
And,
I got shot, so
I shot you.
yeah. Well, it didn't really. If we had like proper actors, it probably would have been a bit more, well,
a lot more professional.
professional.
People
But
look
the
nasty.
the only times that in that whole thing, the preliminary task, the only times that we probably actually needed proper actors for it was actually probably the exchanging of dialogue with the actual come the actions, and that doesn't really make a difference who does it because it's actions.
Yeah.
You know, anyone can do actions, but
There was like a scene where I was walking down the the bridge, and then I just burst into laughter halfway through. Obviously, a real actor wouldn't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we have to do is.
And
that
it
was
is
just
a big,
time
it's a
wasted,
big
really.
time waster.
So we can't actually rely on ourselves to do the camera work and also editing and be in it as well, because it's just too much and we're just gonna mess around. So that's why we thought it'd be best if we got like proper actors to actually be in our
I think
production, which
what-
is what we
what we
draw
should have
from
done-
preliminary task.
What we should have done if we do it next time is sort of like do a casting where we have like sort of 3 or 4 girls and 3 or 4 boys, so we can actually
Yeah.
pick the best one, because
Well, if
we
it's
picked
It's
it
because we could.
You don't really
Because
need
what
that
we
much,
did was
since they'll just
do it
learn
from
how
our-
to get
because
from-
the new one.
from the actual problem we did. We actually just drew upon the fact that me and Joe knew the girl who played the daughter, which was Soph. We knew she was doing a lot of drama, so we thought she'd be a good actress.
And Josh
It
was.
just-
And Josh just fitted the part because he looked a lot
was
older than he was.
So we did learn with the prelim about doing all the camera shot techniques like match on action, the 180-degree rule.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Turns
we
out we
used
didn't
them
really-
pretty well, didn't we?
We only used the match on action in our final pieces. There was
Yeah,
like, we
I
said there was no
don't think we
dialogue.
used the one
There
here,
wasn't-
did we?
Yeah, we didn't use the one.
We didn't have to. There was no
No.
dialogue.
No.
Although we did stay pretty 180 if we were.
There was a scene in the office where the camera just stayed on one side, so that sort of
Yeah.
class as a 180
Yeah.
rule.
Another thing we drew upon from our preliminary task was the sound continuity, because in the actual preliminary task there was a bit of a, well,
It
I-
glitched a bit.
yeah,
didn't
it wasn't synced properly. You had bits that were like where there was some sound when they started talking before they actually moved their mouths to speak.
I think that's editing rather than
Yeah.
many other things.
Yeah,
It's
so
just-
we've basically learned a lot more about in the editing side of things to make our final task
Yeah.
a lot better edited compared to the preliminary
Yeah.
task.
We also learned kind of about how to render things properly, because I'm not sure what happened, but with when we saved the film, it kind of part of it, like the size of it, shrunk. And so when
Yeah.
you watch it back, it goes from being very
Like a white
squished to
Yeah,
going
like
more
a widescreen,
widescreen. And
So-
I think that came from us doing the wrong save or something,
Yeah.
and it just rendered wrong.
So we
Learn
learned
how to
from
be
that
more
Yeah.
precautious with it.
and always do the same thing for each one, not to just
Yeah.
do something different for each sort of
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, also continuity part in the actual acting in that was probably a lot better. but-
Yeah, just like let's go back to Sophie falling over,
Yeah.
and that was the most horrendous
Acting it was.
acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't much better than
I mean,
when I said, "Now let's talk," and then it blurred, and then it faded, and it came back, and then I go, "So let's have a talk."
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Poor script.
exactly. So I think we actually did a lot more planning into the final task than the preliminary.
Yeah.
Because if you compare,
But even if like, because we took something like I don't know, 50 shots of Sophie falling over,
yeah,
and in the
You
end
just-
we
you
just
just
decided
gave-
not to use it in our
because
final.
it wasn't going to work. Because we did get a shot of her. Well, with the shoe, we tried to do that.
Yeah,
but
we had loads of ideas, didn't we, of how
Yeah.
we would portray Sophie, or the daughter, losing something or falling over or cutting
Yeah.
herself to leave like breadcrumbs or trail for the detective to find afterwards. Like for her shoe, for instance, it was really hard because she kept loose. She couldn't kick off her shoe
It
properly
couldn't
or
just
catch
slip off. She had to have to forcibly kick it off.
Couldn't
yeah,
catch it.
and
was
you
set
would
it
very
in one
low,
direction.
you would know. But yeah, if you do like comparison of what the like it was from the final task to the preliminary task, you can see with the the level of editing and
Yeah.
time put into it. Because if you compare the planning we did preliminary task, it was what, a day.
I think
Right.
what we
Well, then you
learned.
compare it to what we did with the final task, which we spent a lot longer with all the ideas we were churning out. But with the preliminary task, we weren't really given that much ideas because we
Just
had
go ahead straight.
we
into
had like an idea and we were just stuck with it, but we didn't challenge it and see the
Or
flaws.
get
see
any feedback.
Yeah,
until-
it's
sort
trying
of
to
just
see the
we
flaws
sort
in
of
it.
just like ran into it while everyone else sort of like stayed back and planned.
Yeah,
I think
But then again,
even
that
people
was
really
a good-
planned their
it was-
prelim
it
that
was-
much, because it was just a prelim, so people just thought, okay, we need to do these shots, let's go do them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
just getting experience.
I think what we learned
Exactly.
from the preliminary task was sort of take time out for editing and shooting, sort of make it all better. But I think as we had to constantly reshoot, we sort of lost all that time when the
Yeah.
editing. so we had to spend more like sort of the editing was a bit rushed on both
Yeah.
occasions really.
I mean, if we'd actually gotten the whole filming done properly and we realised all the flaws in it at the beginning, we would have had a lot more plenty of time to do more editing and to see more flaws in that. But that's one of the beauties of doing the preliminary task is you can you do it and you see what your flaws are,
So
and then you in the final task you correct them.
a test
And then-
screening.
Yeah, and then you see then you get again do the test screening, see the flaws, and it's basically just trial and error, which is actually thankful we did the preliminary task for, which gives us the idea of how we're going to go about doing the final task.
It was also good that we actually did like before the preliminary task. We actually did another one before that, so we actually had a bit of information, know what to do. Then we did the preliminary task using what we learned, and then in the final one we could add all the stuff we learned and all the errors, and just improve it overall.
I mean, you can see the level of how much more advanced we were with the level of editing when you compare the amount of editing towards the preliminary task to the final
It was a
task.
hell of a lot of it. Was
Yeah.
like, we probably only filmed for about, I don't know, 10 hours, but we edited for about
I
15
mean, it
or
was just
something.
because the shots were so short. Like when he was running around the stairs, because obviously there was, like in the preliminary task, it was me walking down the stairs, and then the talking was just us.
Yeah, so
two.
it's like a leisurely pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whilst
When
with
the
the
other
actual
one
final
was
task, we had to speed it up to
Yeah.
make it more.
like opening the door, running out,
Yeah.
different shot, then shots of her, then another shot of the detective running through, shot of the killer, and just constantly.
I think
Going
another
through.
thing we did as well is we had loads of different story lines that we could follow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the plot was the same, but the
It was
way
just
it
different,
was
yeah.
shown, we had loads of them. We decided to get rid of a couple, like going back to Sophie falling over. When in the final edit and reshoot that we did, she fell over in one shot and she lost her scarf in another, and we decided that it would be better the other way around if she kind of fell over after she lost the scarf, because it was a bit more final and kind of ending. Although the continuity didn't allow us to do that, considering we filmed it the other way around, she still had her scarf on when she fell over. So we just decided to scrap it completely, and we thought the scarf, with the Sin City effect that we used, did actually look quite professional and achievable.
Well, I guess that's pretty much all we can talk about the preliminary task.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's good.